Hi guys, I will be here with another story. Just thought I'd show you my clematis, my Libra daisies, and my garlic. It's growing pretty good, isn't it? Okay, so I just have to move this forward so it's closer to the table. I did get a small Temu order today. I didn't bother vlogging it, but this is part of it. The sticker with the cutie pie. I got the sticker because the diamond painting really couldn't see that it was the sweetheart. And also, I thought I had just gotten or ordered the long kitchen rug, but I ended up with two, the long and the short one, so that was nice. Also, I got pumpkin earrings that are jack-o'-lantern earrings that are on both sides. And then my witchy phone case, which, if I remember, I'll put up a picture of it. Here's the moon. She's at half. Okay. And let me get set up. Okay, I'll give you the fairy shoe to look at. Hopefully you can hear me. Maybe up a bit more. There. Now this story is called Listen to Me. Oh, this is... Sorry, it's taking me a bit. Here we go. There it stood, neglected, sat back on Havelock Street. Bradley and his mother passed it on their way home from groceries. There it is, Bradley said as the car rolled by. Don't you dare go near that place, she chastised him. He sat back in the seat. He had learned not to question his mother. At dinner, she continued to warn him. Bradley, I am serious. You go nowhere near that place. That's all I will say on this subject. And that was it. Later that evening, his friend Paul called. Hey Brad, what's up? Nothing, just chilling in my room. What's up with you? Tomorrow night, you up for exploring that old place if we can get in? Paul inquired. No can do, man. My mom has forbidden me to go anywhere near that place. He explained. Mommy tells you no, so baby Brad won't go. Paul made fun of him. Listen, she was adamant that I stay away. I mean serious. Did she tell you why? No, and I wasn't going to ask. Paul took a frustrated breath. Okay, bud, but if you change your mind, you know where I'll be. Paul hung up. Bradley sat on his bed, stewing over his predicament. Eventually, he fell asleep. In the living room, his mom worried about her teenage boy. He had defied her in the past. This was no time for him to test boundaries. When it was time for bed, she opened his door a crack. He was fast asleep. Of course, thoughts went back to memories of him as a little boy, the little one that cuddled on the sofa watching cartoons. Those days were long gone. She slowly closed the door, continuing to her bedroom. In the morning, Bradley got ready for school before his mother was up. In the yard, he met up with Paul. Change your mind about tonight? Paul asked. Nope, he answered. There's a reason she doesn't want me there. Did she finally tell you why? No, but I've learned not to question her. She's always been right. She's likely afraid we'll get caught. All parents are the same. They forget what it's like to be our age, Paul told him. On their walk home, Bradley and Paul were joined by Tom. So are we going? Tom anxiously inquired. Yes, but Mama's boy is staying home, Paul mocked. Mama's boy? Tom wasn't understanding. Bradley's mom has demanded he stay away from the house. Why? Is she afraid the cops will get us? Tom asked. She didn't explain, but she was adamant about it. Brad was sure Tom would drop the subject now. Bradley completed his homework. The remainder of the evening, he agonized through every second. He wanted to be out there with Paul and Tom. He wanted to be the one, to find a way in, or maybe he secretly knew already. Paul and Tom had slipped through a small opening in the wire fence. The bushes were thick with thorns. Damn, this hurts. Couldn't we find another way in? Tom asked, pulling the thin branches to the side so he could pass. My parents are going to wonder where these scratches came from, he stated. Tell them your girlfriend got a bit wild. Paul could not control his laughter. Bradley heard the echo of their laughter. He approached as silently as possible. The beams from their flashlights bobbed in the darkness like fireflies. This was his chance, and he was relishing each moment of it. When he was close enough, but still out of sight, he spoke up. Hands up so I can see them. His deep voice demanded from the shadows. The boys dropped their flashlights, turning towards the voice. You fools! Bradley stepped out from his cover. What the hell are you playing at, you asshole? Paul was furious at Brad for making him a fool. Tom couldn't help but laugh. Thought Mummy wouldn't let you come out at night, Paul teased. She doesn't know I've left. You're going to be in some trouble when she finds out, Tom informed him. The boys carried on, making a fresh circle around the house. Nothing had changed. They couldn't see a way in. Guess your mom doesn't have to worry. There's no way to get inside, Tom said, shining his light under his chin. Except if you're a mouse. Brad had noticed a tiny creature moving along the stone foundation. He flashed his lights towards it. Two round, reflective objects blinked in its glare. Let's follow him. Bradley took the lead. The three followed at a distance where they could still see the small tour guide, all the way around to the back. Attached to the house were two large doors covering what would be stairs to the storm cellar. They watched the mouse disappear through an opening near the house. Don't think we'll be able to get in through there, Tom said, pointing. Paul left the two and walked around to the front porch, taking a seat on the steps. Bradley continued to peer back for the mouse. There was something familiar about it. Ghost following you? Paul teased. Better not follow you home. It was pointless to spend any more time on the property, so they left. Bradley made it back inside without his mother's knowledge. But the mud on his shoes gave him away in the morning. Runners in hand, his mother questioned him. You went to the house last night, didn't you? She was at the sink with her back to him. Don't lie to me, Bradley. She turned to face him. Why would you go when I specifically told you not to? Bradley didn't have a solid answer for her. I want an answer, she was direct. Fine, he thought in his head. I was sick of being made fun of, tired of being called Mum's boy. So I went to the house to meet up with Paul and Tom. You didn't get in, I pray. No, it's impossible to. There is no need to worry. Brad didn't hide his anger. You're not to go anywhere near it. Do you understand? Nowhere near it, Bradley. All right already. He slid his chair out from the table, then pushed it back in. He made sure to slam the front door as he left. His mom stood alone in the kitchen. Why couldn't he just listen to her? She wasn't being unfair. She was protecting him. Like every generation before, they don't listen. A block away from his house, Brad thought of his reaction. Guilt set in, but he continued walking. He continued till he found himself in front of the house. What is it about this place that has you so paranoid? The only thing Brad seen was a very beautiful Victorian home decaying from neglect. Rose bushes grew rogue over the facade, rusted steel from years of rain and snow. Brad could imagine how grand it once was. It was then he heard the faintest sound by his foot. There it was, the little mouse. It was looking up at him, with paws in the air. Hi, little guy. You want up? Brad extended his hand down for the tiny creature to climb aboard. He brought him close to his face like anyone else would do. Ouch! The mouse bit his nose. Brad turned his hand upside down. The mouse fell into the weeds. Why did you do that? He was cross. I'm being friendly. There was no call for that. He extended his hand again. No biting. The mouse climbed on board, then licked Brad's hand. That's better, little guy. There was now a conversation in his mind. To keep or not to keep? You know I should let you go. You seem to be surviving on your own, but... The mouse walked up his arm to his shoulder. Brad giggled. Guess you made my decision, he said with a smile. Mom can't know I have you, so I'll have to smuggle you in. Don't make a sound when we get home. I have an old hamster cage in the basement. I'll bring it up to my room. Bradley's mom was relaxing with a book in the living room. Hey, Mom. She looked at him. I'm sorry about earlier. It's just... She held her hand up, closed the book, and patted the cushion beside her. I understand. Peer pressure is horrible. I've dealt with it. I'm just hoping you'll be strong enough to ignore it, honey. She looked at him directly in the eyes. I can't tell you why, but I'm very serious about staying away from there. Don't take anything you find on the property. Okay, Mom. Love you. Brad gave her a peck on the cheek, then went straight to his room. He had taken something from the house, the mouse. When she was asleep, he did as he had promised. The cage and its contents came upstairs. The setup was befitting royalty. This creature had never had it so good. The next day, while Brad was out, his mother took clean laundry to his room. What is this doing here? She said. She searched without opening the tiny door and didn't see anything. The mouse had seen her and hid beneath the new bedding. Later in the day, Brad was in the kitchen having dinner. What's the old cage up in your room for? He thought quickly. Tom's mouse had babies and he asked if I wanted one. They're ready to leave the mom. I'm older now. I'll take good care of it. Well, you better. And she left it like that. Saturday morning chore was mowing the lawn. Hey, Bradley, it was Tom. Brad filled Tom in on his white lie to his mother. He told him of the argument and going to the house and seeing the mouse. You brought it home? Yeah, that's why I need you to back me up. Tom agreed, and the boys went to his room without his mother noticing them. But it wasn't long before she popped her head in. Is our new boarder here? Hi, Tom. Hello, Ms. Whitlock. She made her way to the cage. Welcome aboard, little one. She smiled, watching his nose twitch. Make sure he stays in that cage. Yes, Mom, he will. The day progressed, Tom left, and Brad relaxed until bedtime. In his room, he took his new friend out of the cage and placed him on the bed. What am I going to name you? In his head, he heard, Mama's coming. Quickly, he placed his friend back in his home. His mother's footsteps came along the hall to her room. They stopped for a moment. then continued. There was something off in the atmosphere of the house. They're going to the house, Brad heard in his head. Without a thought, he got dressed, picked up the mouse, and left. Yes, the boys were there with their flashlights. "Can I help you?" Brad said in a deep voice. "You shithead, stop doing that," Paul shouted. "Found a way in yet?" Brad inquired. "No, this place is locked up tight," Tom remarked. Meanwhile, Paul was scanning the facade. Roofing tiles had been curling up, and some totally missing from storms earlier in the year. He knew there had to be a way in. Then he spotted it, a small window at the peak of the house. All they needed was a way to get up there. Paul followed the roofline, hoping for an easy, clear route. "What are you doing?" Bradley asked. "Searching for a way to get up there." Paul shone his light to the top of the roof. "There's a trap door," he heard a voice inside his head. Once again, "Don't tell them." Where was this voice coming from, and how did it know? "If we can find a way up there, I'm sure we can get in. It's worth a try." Paul was optimistic. "How?" "I don't have a ladder that tall." "Shit, you'd need the fire department to get you there," Tom said. "Leave it to me. We'll soon get in." Paul was confident. Back at home, Brad placed the mouse in its cage and it went into the plastic hut and was soon asleep. Brad had a dream. He was at the house searching for a way in. He pulled on the steel panels, but none gave way. Covered in ivy, he found a ladder that would reach the second floor. Window by window he pulled. Then, at the back of the house, one panel moved ever so slightly. He gave a good tug, and more let loose from its position. Ugh! Fly. More let loose from its position. The weld hadn't taken well, and the years of neglect assisted in his entry. He was in the house. In the morning, he was on the phone to Paul. "I think I have a way in. I dreamed it last night." "Dreamed it? Come on, you want us to go by a dream you've had?" "I don't think so." He was ready to hang up. "Wait. What do you have to lose? If it doesn't work, we're no further ahead. So let's try." The three met that night after dinner on the excuse that they were going to the movies. "Okay, hotshot, where is this ladder that will supposedly get us in?" Paul said sarcastically. "It should be towards the back on the right-hand side," Bradley answered. The three made their way in that direction. A tower stood before them. Tom looked worried. What else was hidden in the mass of green ivy? Each took a side and pulled. "I don't think it's here, Brad boy," Paul commented. "No, but I found a door that's missing a seal." Tom was excited. Brad and Paul helped to pull the dead parts of this growing tangle away. Yes, he was correct. There was a door, and the ladder had been hidden as well. Its paint had peeled off. Chunks of the door had been ripped off with the vine. The heavy smell of damp wood filled their lungs. It appeared this wooden door had been kept upright only by being swollen in place. "You open, Tom. You found it." Paul gave his friend a mild push. Reluctantly, Tom's hand shook as he reached for the handle. Carefully, he turned the knob. More force was needed, so he grabbed with both hands. A crack, and the door opened a sliver. Tom put his shoulder to the rotten wood, and it gave way. He found himself flat on the floor of a room, dark and musty. "Come in, guys," he encouraged. Bradley heard his mother's voice in his head. Repeatedly, she warned him off the property, but he didn't listen. Inside, he and Paul crept. Bradley found himself frozen in place. His feet did not want to move. His body covered in goosebumps, warning him something was near and he should leave. "Are you going to stand there, or are you coming with us?" Paul inquired. A moment of thought. Those words continued to play on his mind. "Don't go near that house." It was way too late now for him to back off. He may as well join the guys exploring. It was very eerie walking through a place full of people's memories. It suddenly felt wrong. "I don't know if I can do this," he told the guys. This was someone's home. So are the other places that we have explored. It only feels that way because of what your mom said, Tom told him. "No, it's more than that." Within his pocket, the mouse stirred. "Stay put, little buddy. You brought that flea-bitten thing here? Why?" Paul inquired. "I felt I had to, no other reason than that. Do I need one?" "Guess not." The three continued through the main floor. Everything was left behind. "Why would you do this and seal it with steel plates?" Tom questioned. "Because of the demon within the bowels of the house." "Ha ha ha," Paul joked. "Don't do that." Brad began to feel ill at ease even more. "I think we should leave." "You scared, little man?" Paul always quick with tongue. "We never should have come inside. This is all wrong." Bradley turned to go. "We haven't checked the second floor yet," Tom said, with his foot on the bottom step. At that moment, Bradley's furry friend jumped from his pocket and scurried up the staircase. "Mo!" he shouted, pushing Tom aside, bounding up the stairs after the mouse. Reaching the top, he was greeted with 4 doors. Which one had Mo gone into? The first door was the washroom. "Everything left in here, too," Tom said. Paul brushed by to check the medicine cabinet. Pills, cough syrup, hairspray, usual shit. Second door opened to a bed and dresser. Nothing special. Closet was empty, as well as the stiff wooden drawers. Third door opened with ease. "Wow, looks like she's coming back tonight," Tom said. Bradley was too busy searching for his friend to bother with the contents. There was dust covering most every surface. Paul pulled open a drawer in a bedside table. There was a stack of photos. He quickly shuffled through them, tossing them back inside the drawer. The final room. Mo had to be in this room. Indeed he was, sitting on the bed, grooming himself. "Mo, you gave me such a scare. Get back in my pocket." Brad pulled open his jacket pocket. Mo jumped right in. Tom and Paul began searching through the room. All personal items for a woman. Brad took a seat on the bed. He took his first look at the surroundings. Bradley, correct me if I'm wrong, but this woman resembles your mom." Tom held up a photo of 2 women smiling on the front steps. The color drained from his face. Paul snatched the photo from Tom's hand. "He's right. This is your mom." He thrust the paper in Brad's face. He couldn't deny it was his mother. "How did her picture get here? And who is this lady with her? I've never seen her before." "It's obvious the reason you weren't supposed to come here. Think about it. She's been adamant that you stay away. Maybe they were lovers," Paul remarked. "Fuck off," was Brad's response. "Could be a sister, an aunt you don't know about," was Tom's suggestion. There was a bang from the main floor. All 3 ceased conversation. They waited, ears perked. Nothing. What was that? Did someone follow us? Paul didn't feel so brave now. "We better get out of here." Brad contemplated placing the picture down, then slipped it in the pocket opposite Mo. Returning home, Brad's mom inquired of the movie. "We decided not to go. We hung out at the park instead." He couldn't look his mother in the eyes. Why hadn't she just told him Why hadn't she just told him she used to live there? I'm tired, I'm going to bed. Mo was placed in his luxury cage and the photo placed on his nightstand. His sleep was restless, he tossed and turned. His usual dreams were instead a nightmare. The three were back in the house, retracing steps they had just taken. Up the steps to the bedroom, the door opened on its own. It glowed a burnt orange inside. A woman sat on the bed, her head down. Cautiously he approached the figure. Slowly her head raised. It was his mother. I begged you not to come. I warned you to stay away. You didn't listen. Your fate is sealed. You belong. Her eyes turned blood red, and her smile similar to a jack-o'-lantern. He woke up screaming. His mother rushed to his room. Bradley, wake up. She shook his shoulders. Bradley. His eyes opened wide. It was you. It was you in the room. What were you doing there? And why did you look like that? The panic in his voice disturbed his mother greatly. What room? The bedroom in the house, he replied. His mother caught a glimpse of the photo. She reached over and picked it up. Where did you get this? I told you in the house, he responded once more. I told you to stay away. How the hell did you get in? There was more concern than anger in her tone. I had a dream. In the dream I seen a ladder. You climbed into the house? From where? No, we found the ladder behind Ivy, and there was a door behind the ladder. We pushed it open and went inside. Everything was left in the house. I mean everything. It was spooky shit. Tom found the picture in the drawer. It was you with a woman on the steps smiling. Who is she? And why was your picture there? We'll talk about this in the morning. Try and get back to sleep. It was then she seen the mouse. Making small talk, she asked, what did you name him? Mo. Why? Came to my head, he answered. His mother slipped the photo into her housecoat pocket. Bradley left his overhead light on and fell back to sleep. He dreamed of nothing. His mother, on the other hand, had experienced a personal hell. She was back inside the house. The windows and doors were all open, and the sun shone in. A waltz was playing from the floor above. She felt herself floating up the staircase with no control to stop it. There in front of her, beyond the open door, sat two figures on the bed. Where is he? Why haven't you brought him? The female voice inquired. Brought who? Our son. The female figure turned her head. The skin on her face was ashen and cracked. A thick, creamy colored goop oozed from the cracks. The smell she knew. It was from her past. Her lips parted. Pointed teeth revealed. Her heart leapt in her chest. Cornelia, why? We've missed you, the male figure kept silent. Why did you bring him here? I told him not to come. Ruth, if our son is not returned, then your son will take his place. You know the way this works. Cornelia rose and walked towards her. Running her hand through Ruth's hair, she added, it's been too many years. The breath was revolting. Please leave him out of this. He took my son and placed him in a cage, Cornelia shouted. Ruth turned to her. Your son allowed himself to be caught. Your son made friends with mine. Did you ever consider your son doesn't want to be here anymore? Maybe he wants to be free of this hellhole. The words came out without a thought. There was no controlling those emotions she should have stifled. This was never a hellhole to me. Your perception of things was never right. So what do you want from me? Ruth asked. My son. That is the only thing we want. The male figure turned. It was Jason, his face identical to Cornelia's. The handsome, strong features were replaced by the repulsive disfigurement. I want my son, were the first words he spoke. I'll get your son. Now leave mine alone. Ruth woke, jumped out of bed and ran to her son's room. "Brad, you need to take this mouse back," she shouted. He woke up confused. What? Why? "Because," she grabbed hold of the cage. "You need to explain to me. Mo and I are buddies." He rubbed the sleep from his eyes. Ruth sat on the end of his bed. "I lived in the house with the woman in the picture. Her name was Cornelia. It was a beautiful house. Cornelia always loved it. She had big plans for it. I moved in to help her out and keep her company. We'd known each other for years, since we were children." She took a breath. "The nightmares began shortly after I moved in. They were horrible. Then Cornelia and I shared nightmares. What I mean is we were in each other's and recounted entire experiences together." Bradley listened intently. "Our terror built to a point. We couldn't withstand it. The only thing to do was to leave the house and everything in it. Didn't matter what, it had to be left behind. There was a demon in the house." "Why didn't you demolish the place?" he inquired. "Because it would have only released it to follow us. So Cornelia suggested the steel plates. She had been saving money for years to renovate the house. Instead, we used it to seal it. We were assured no one could enter the house the day that the last plate was in place." "Then how did they miss one?" "The only window without a plate was at the very top. The man told us there was no way someone could enter from there. There were no doors or stairs that accessed it. But there is, Mom. There's a trap door in one of the bedrooms." Ruth thought about it. "So anyone could have got in through there." A horrible thought came to her. Did the men who did the work know the value of the items in the house? Had they stolen them? It looked like nothing had been taken. There's so much stuff. Anyway, the day we left, Cornelia seen this mouse in that window. Turned to tell her he'd be fine, and she was gone. When I looked back, she was in the window with Jason and that mouse. The mouse turned into a little boy that she held in her arms. My mouse turned into a boy. This is hard to believe. Are you sure you seen what we did? Were there drugs involved?" he asked. "No, I never took drugs. I am as sure as I'm sitting here. We have to take the mouse back. That's all they want now," Ruth said. It broke Brad's heart. He was so fond of his furry, tiny creature. "When?" "Bradley, if I could convince them otherwise, I would, but that's their son." The entire situation was difficult to believe. Brad had not understood what his mother attempted to convey. He wasn't understanding that these people she saw were dead. Brad asked for a couple of days' grace before returning the boy, to his family. The darkness descended upon her home this time. The nightmares were shared between herself and her son. The dream began. They were home in the living room watching TV. A strong smell engulfed the room. A red substance dripped slowly from the ceiling down the abstract wallpaper. "What is it?" Brad asked his mom, getting up to investigate. "Don't touch it, it's blood." Bradley backed off. "It's your blood," she heard Cornelia scream. The blood ran down to the floor. Their bodies began to disappear. "Your son is here in his coat pocket." Brad carefully lifted Mo from his hiding place. Ruth motioned for him to set the mouse down. The mouse scurried towards Cornelia, climbing up into her arms. There he transformed into the boy. Brad was in shock. "Mama, I want him to stay." Mo smiled at his friend. Ruth held tight to her son. "No!" The blood retreated into the ceiling. It was calm. Ruth whispered to Brad, "Head for the door." Ruth's first step into the fresh air sent her stomach into knots. Her foot had disappeared. Quickly she retracted, and her foot was there. "You are one of us." Cornelia laughed triumphantly. No, Ruth repeated. crumble into the wooden floor. That was the end of the dream. Tom and Paul tried repeatedly to contact their friend. The school also had left numerous messages with no return call. The police were notified and a wellness check ensued. There was nothing in the house, they told the principal. Looks like they left during the night. Neighbors claim they hadn't seen anything. I wouldn't worry, but if we become aware of their whereabouts, we'll be in touch. That evening, the boys again made their way to the Victorian. Hey, look, 2 mice, Tom shouted. That first one looks like Brad's, Paul observed. Come, man, all these wild mice look the same, he squinted, don't they? Following the mice, they found themselves at the door. It was wide open, suggesting to the boys that someone had entered. Do we go inside? Tom was hesitant. All Paul could hear were the words of Ms. Whitlock. Don't go near the house. No, I get a weird vibe. Let's go. This place isn't worth it. Mo was sad, but Brad reminded him there would be other days to play. Paul couldn't shake this eerie feeling. Both he and Tom turned, peering up at the window at the peak of the roof. On the sill sat 2 mice. They would swear they were waving at them. Let's get the hell out of here, Paul yelled. Don't worry, Mo. They'll be back. They always come back. Then they'll be one of us and play forever. That is the ending of Listen to Me. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be starting on another story soon, and I hope you'll enjoy that one as well. So have a great evening. As you can tell, it has gotten darker here, and the lights are on, but the other ones aren't on as yet, except for down there. The moon is looking beautiful. So until the next time, my pretties, there go the lights. Ciao for now.